At the break of dawn, when the sun's golden light barely touched the earth, a small band of primitive humans with ape-like faces crouched silently by the riverbank. Their eyes, wide and alert, scanned the rippling surface of the water. Hunger gnawed at their stomachs like a relentless predator. Every movement in the reeds, every ripple in the current, could mean either food or death. In these days, survival was not a right, it was a prize won through constant vigilance, cunning, and courage. The jungle was alive with the whispers of danger, yet the promise of sustenance drew them forward. They crept through the undergrowth, bodies tense, faces like those of great apes carved from stone. Ahead, nestled between twisted roots, lay the treasure, giant snake eggs, their shells glowing faintly in the dim light. They knew the risk. The mother would be near. But in this world, risk was a constant companion, and fear was a luxury none could afford. From the shadows, she emerged, an enormous king cobra, her hood unfurling like a deadly banner. Her eyes locked onto the intruders, tongue flicking in a slow rhythm of threat. The primitive humans, with their ape-like faces twisted in defiance, tightened their grip on crude spears. The scent of burning wood mixed with the snake's hiss as they raised their torches high. This was no battle of strength alone, it was a contest of will, of who could claim the right to live another day. The sun dipped low, painting the sky with the colors of blood and ash. Around a small fire, the primitive humans huddled, their ape-like faces catching the flicker of the flames. The stolen snake eggs sizzled, releasing a rich aroma that spoke of survival. Every bite was victory, hard-earned, dangerous, and fleeting. Tomorrow, the hunt would begin again. The moon rose, casting silver light over the savanna's endless grass. They moved in silence, every shadow a possible predator. Far off, the chilling chorus of jackals pierced the stillness. The ape-faced humans tightened their formation, gripping their spears, their ears twitching at each sound. In the primal night, there were no walls, no safety, only the thin line between hunter and hunted. The rustling in the grass turned into movement, shapes low to the ground, circling. Then came the glint of eyes and the flash of teeth. Jackals. The air grew tense, filled with the sound of low growls and quickened breaths. The primitive humans, their ape-like faces set in grim determination, formed a defensive ring. Spears lowered, hearts pounding, they knew that in this place, hesitation was death. The hiss and crack of burning wood became their savior. With guttural cries, they swung their torches wide, the flames licking the night. Jackals yelped and scattered, the shadows swallowing them whole. Victory was not triumphant here, it was survival, bought with fire and fear. From their high perch, the world looked endless, forests, rivers, and danger without end. The primitive humans sat in the first light of day, their ape-like faces bent over stone tools, chipping and shaping with patient skill. Every edge they crafted was another chance at life, another weapon against the teeth and claws that roamed below. From the canopy above, silence became death. A massive python uncoiled, striking with terrifying speed. One of the ape-faced humans vanished beneath its crushing embrace, the air filled with screams and hisses. In the jungle, there was no warning, no mercy, only the endless dance of predator and prey. They mourned in silence, but the living could not stop for grief. The great serpent's body was skinned, its meat divided, its hide shaped into tools and bindings. In the old world, nothing was wasted. Every death, human or beast, fed the endless cycle of survival. The forest breathed in slow, heavy whispers, its air thick with the scent of damp earth and crushed leaves. Shafts of sunlight fell like golden spears through the towering canopy above. Two primitive humans, their faces still bearing the raw contours of their ape-like ancestors, crept low through the foliage. Their crude garments of animal skin clung to their bodies, damp from the morning dew. Ahead, the boar rooted in the mud, unaware of the silent predators that now stalked its every move. In this world, one strike could mean a feast, or a fatal mistake. The stream gurgled over smooth stones, a song older than memory. Primitive humans with faces that mirrored the dawn of mankind waited carefully in its shallows, animal skin skirts clinging to their legs. Bone necklaces clattered softly against their chests as they moved, their eyes locked on the trapped silver flash of a fish in a rock pool. Children, smaller but with the same primal features, crouched at the bank, watching intently. They would learn, because in the first age, knowledge was not given, it was earned. Deep within the stone womb of their shelter, the flames cast shadows that danced across the walls. Primitive humans, their faces part man, part ape, dipped fingers into red and ochre pigments. On rough stone, they painted the hunt, boars, snakes, jackals, stories of survival in bold, eternal strokes. Their garments of fur and twisted plant fiber brushed against the cold walls as they worked. This was more than art, it was a memory carved into time, a warning to those yet unborn. The sky split open, and the rains came down in sheets. Fur pelts clung to their bodies, heavy with water, as the primitive humans sprinted through the tall, swaying grass. Their ape-like faces twisted with urgency, their breaths visible in the cool, storm-thick air. Far behind, dark shapes moved, a pack of hyenas, their laughter cutting through the rain like a cruel promise. The storm would hide them, or swallow them whole. The swamp stank of rotting plants and stagnant water, a perfume of death and patience. Primitive humans, their ape-like faces streaked with mud, became part of the landscape. They crouched in stillness, their animal skin loincloths clinging to their bodies, eyes locked on the colossal crocodile that basked in the shallow water. This was not a fight they sought, but in the first age, danger often found you before you found it. The air was rich with the scent of ripe fruit, and the branches swayed gently under their weight. Primitive humans, their faces carved from the same primal mold as their ancestors, climbed high among the fig tree's limbs. Their plant fiber garments rustled softly as they moved with careful grace, eyes darting to the shadows in search of coiled danger. Food was life, but life here was never free. The moon hung low, its pale light painting the river in silver and shadow. Primitive humans, their ape-like features softened by the glow, knelt at the water's edge. Dressed in hides and fur stitched with sinew, they lowered woven reed traps into the current. The river's whispers mingled with their quiet breaths. They worked quickly, for in this age, even the night had teeth. The fire was small, but in the dark, it was a sun. Primitive humans huddled close, their ape-like faces lit in flickers of gold and shadow. Around their shoulders hung rough capes of fur, the smell of smoke woven into every thread. Beyond the light's reach, eyes burned in the black, a silent reminder that they were not alone. In the first age, safety was measured in arm's length and heartbeats. The undergrowth exploded in chaos, branches snapping, leaves scattering, then came the scream. A primitive human with a face both man and ape writhed in the crushing coils of a giant serpent. His fur tunic was torn, his breath stolen by the beast's embrace. The others came, spears thrust forward, voices rising in primal fury. In this land, every battle was for the right to see another sunrise. The sun bled into the horizon, casting the savanna in fire and shadow. Primitive humans trudged across the grass, their ape-like faces streaked with sweat and dust. The antelope's body dragged behind them, its blood soaking into their fur garments. This was more than meat, it was the difference between hunger and strength, weakness and survival. On the cliff's edge, the wind howled like a restless spirit. Primitive humans crouched low, their ape-like features grim with focus as they struck flint against stone. Sparks leapt and died in the air, each one a promise of warmth, of safety, of life. Their fur loincloths fluttered in the wind, carrying the scent of the hunt and the earth itself. The plains were a sea of pale mist, the grass whispering secrets to the wind. Primitive humans, their ape-like faces fierce with determination, ran as one. Bone jewelry clinked against their chests, and animal skin cloaks streamed behind them as they closed in on the wounded gazelle. Each breath was fire, each step a test of will. The gorge was a trap of stone and vine, and the air buzzed with tension. Baboons, large and furious, lunged from the shadows, teeth bared in challenge. The primitive humans stood their ground, ape-like faces set in defiance, long sticks raised high. Their voices rang out, deep and harsh, driving the intruders back. Here, every inch of land was fought for. The river sang beside them, and the air was thick with the scent of roasted meat. Primitive humans, their ape-like faces streaked with ash and sweat, tore into their hard-won meal. Fur garments hung loose around tired shoulders. Tonight, they would eat well, but tomorrow, the hunger would return, as sure as the sun. From the mountain's crown, the world stretched in every direction, forests, rivers, and shadows. Primitive humans stood in the thin, cold air, their ape-like faces hardened by 1,000 battles with nature. Thick fur cloaks wrapped them against the wind as they watched the distant smoke curl into the sky. Out there were others like them, hungry, desperate, alive. The first age was not a place of peace. It was a proving ground,